A huge trade is imminent, as an NFL insider just gave us some major trade details on the Dallas Cowboys and their plans heading into this Tuesday's NFL trade deadline. We get you the latest and a couple brand new targets all right here on Cowboys Digest. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show. We've got lots to discuss, but before that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Tuesday is the NFL trade deadline. We are literally less than 48 hours away, or right at 48 hours away, basically. So if you want to know every single trade, every single move, every single thing that Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys do, then I recommend you go down there and you hit that subscribe button. It's 100% free. Speaking of Jerry Jones, he has talked a lot about the trade deadline this season. He loves to be in front of a microphone, and well, he has been asked many a question about what the Cowboys' plans are for the trade deadline. And we've gone from, I believe this team is a playoff team, I believe this team is one player away, I believe this team is good, to now this past week saying, I don't know if the defense can be fixed by one player. I don't know if this defense is good enough to be fixed by one guy. I believe we have some guys coming up, but trading for one player may not be enough. And so for how much Jerry loves to talk and likes to say this team is going to do this or this team is going to do that, actions speak louder than words. And well, we finally got a report because today Ian Rapoport on NFL Gameday and this morning said that the Cowboys are in the market for an edge rusher before Tuesday's 4 p.m. deadline, and he talked about 3 different targets. Now, if you're wondering who those targets are, here they are via Sleeper Cowboys, saying the Cowboys are in the market for defensive line help, according to Ian Rapoport. A couple of names to keep an eye on, according to Rap, are Bradley Chubb, Jaelan Phillips, and Arden Key. Now, we have mentioned Jaelan Phillips, we've mentioned Arden Key slightly, but we have not talked about Bradley Chubb. And today, though, we're going to go through each of these options, talk about which one is the best fit, and why the Cowboys are even considering defensive line help. And so, let's kind of first start with Bradley Chubb, because he is an intriguing guy to me because we haven't gotten to mention his name. This season, he's been pretty good. In his age 29 year, he's got 9 games, 4 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 recovered fumble, 5 tackles for loss, and he's hit the QB 7 different times. Chubb has been a defensive force for most of his career. I mean, if you go back to his days in Denver, he has been a very good defensive lineman. Talk about sacks, though. This year's definitely been a down year. He had 11 last year for the Miami Dolphins. Back in 2022, he combined for 8 sacks across his time with Denver and Miami. But what you really have to look for the sacks is to go back to his rookie season, in which he had 12, which still to this day stands as the most he has ever had in a single season. Now, he has had some injuries. He has had some issues being always out there, always posting, because if you look at these games played, he has not gotten to 16 games, but 1 time in his career, 2 times in his career. So definitely something to look at. I do like Bradley Chubb. I do think he is a good fit. I think for the Cowboys' sake, he would probably be a decent price for them to go out and get and would help them pretty much instantaneously. However, I have some concerns about his availability and really, in the matter of fact, why exactly would the Cowboys go out and get him over somebody like Jaelan Phillips or Arden Key? I think they might be the better options, so let's talk about those two. Arden Key, nothing really strikes for me as this guy is going to come in and light the world on fire. 5 games, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, and 4 QB hits. If you go to his overall stats, he's never been this special edge rusher. 6.5 sacks for Tennessee this past season. 1.5 obviously this year. 6 in 2023 for Tennessee. Before that, though, he was somewhat of a journeyman. Played for the Raiders, the Niners, the Jaguars, and he had 6.5 sacks for the Niners back in 2021. And he's had some good plays and at times can show some real prowess out there on the field. But the thing that strikes best about me for Arden Key is that his price tag is going to be way lower than Bradley Chubb. His price tag is going to be way lower than it will be for Jaelan Phillips. And in my mind, I don't know if his ceiling is higher than either of those guys, but I do believe that he is a pretty good guy that can come in here and be a rotational depth piece that will help out the Dallas Cowboys. That being said, Bradley Chubb is great. I think that he is kind of a middle ground of price would be pretty decent. He's not that amazing of a player. Arden Key is going to be a cheap price, but you're getting what you're paying for a cheap price because it's a cheap player, in my opinion. But the last guy, and someone who we talked about and multiple different shows, it's Jaelan Phillips. And this guy, to me, he's the all-around best choice. He really is. 9 games, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 1 recovered fumble, 7 QB hits, and 25 combined tackles. But the biggest thing to me about Jaelan Phillips and why, if you had to sit these 3 in front of me and say, okay, we can trade for one of them, who are you picking? I'm picking Jaelan Phillips for a couple of different reasons. He is the best edge rusher, in my opinion, and that's what you're looking for in this aspect. He's quicker off the ball than anybody else. He also is technically a outside linebacker, so he is not this, but he does give off like Micah Parsons-esque type vibes on the field. He kind of plays a similar game to Micah. And so for all the talk about, wanting to stop the run, that's why they got Kenny and going out there and him doing that, but you miss out on the pressure on the quarterback. You miss out on certain things. Well, Jaelan Phillips, if you get him to a right spot, can play in that way. Probably asking, though, right spot, what does that mean? Why does he have to be in the right spot? Well, he's been injured. And that's kind of a big thing. His injury history for a 5-year career is pretty extensive. He tore his Achilles at one point back in 2023 on a Black Friday game against the Jets. And since then, he just really hasn't been the same. He had 6.5 sacks in 8 games. He was on pace for setting his, single season record because he had 8.5 his rookie year, 7 the year prior. But then he came back 4 games, only had 1 sack. This year, 9 games, has only 3 sacks. Now, I will give him the benefit of the doubt and label this as, okay, guess what? Probably a part of me thinks that he's playing on a pretty crappy team. He's playing on a team that is obviously not going to make the playoffs. He's playing on a team that, is just not good. I'll give him a little bit of 3 sacks. I mean, it's hard to get up for that. It's really hard to get up and go and play in that aspect. So I'll give him a pass for that. But overall, if you can get back to the days of 2023 before the injury, 2022, 2021, this guy is really there. And so his price is at least a 3rd rounder, according to multiple sources. And in my head, okay, we can get that. We can get at least a 3rd rounder. I'd be fine giving up a 2nd rounder for him. In that aspect, you're going to be trading away just 1 2nd rounder, would be my thought, for a guy who could potentially give you a lot of help on the defensive line and potentially be someone you extend. So that's a big thing to me. However, these are just 3 players, and there's a lot of positions that the Cowboys could use. So who would you like for the Cowboys to trade for ahead of the Tuesday NFL trade deadline? Is there a name that we haven't talked about? Is there a name we have talked about that you want? I want you to let me know your thoughts on who the Cowboys should trade for in the comments section. Personally, I like all these guys. I like Jaelan Phillips. I like that the possibilities there for Arden Key to have a resurgence, and Bradley Chubb looks good. But if you're looking for defensive line, I think you have to go all in. And so I'm calling the Bengals if they lose today. I'm calling the Raiders and say, what does it take for Max Crosby? That might be a little outlandish, but you can afford to be outlandish because you have 4 first-round picks over the next 2 years. I'd give up 1 for Max Crosby, for sure right now. You can take the best one. You can take ours. Who cares? I would love to have a defensive force on the line like we had for Micah Parsons. Now, we would have had to pay him, and the pay for Max Crosby is less. I just feel like that's the best choice. They're not looking at running back. They don't really need to worry about offense. Defense is the priority. If they want to go out and get a secondary piece, Josh Williams strikes me as a really good piece. But if you're talking defensive line, I think it's Max Crosby. I really do. That's what we got for you here today on the show. We've got more coming up for you tomorrow with the game. We'll be live for the Cowboys versus the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football. And then, of course, Tuesday, the trade deadline, will be having a bunch of reports. So we'll make sure to keep you updated all throughout that day. We appreciate you. We love you. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you next time here on Cowboys Digest. Peace out, guys.